Greetings and salutations. It's Wednesday. I'm Russ Kane. This is The Daily Show with my brand new cup. Right, this is from my cousin Cyril, and I really like it. It's not getting like the full effect here, but this is my brand new mug, and I'm loving it. Right, you got to do stuff that's good. So, international show today. I'm going to give you a clue. No. I'll give you a clue in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know where he is, but I'd like him to drop his camera just a fraction so I can see his lovely little punim. That would be, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him. You've grown to love him. I don't like him. Neil Long, how are you?
Good afternoon. I'm good. Welcome to Men's Radio.
Are you back in the pub? You're back in the pub.
We're live from the Yew Tree pub in Hayling Island.
Hang on, I'm sorry. Operation Yew Tree pub?
Nothing to do with Operation Yew Tree.
Who's behind the bar? Jimmy Savile, for Christ's sake. What's going on?
I can't believe you just said that on there. Nothing whatsoever to do with that.
I went there.
You went there. I can't believe you went there.
You can't throw out the word Yew Tree and me not go.
Would you like to have a little look around the pub? Do you want to see? I'll show you.
Jesus, right.
I
pretend to be. Look at me. I'm going to pretend to be interested. Look.
Full of memorabilia.
My God, this is really nice.
It's beautiful. Full of memorabilia. Look.
Memorabilia of what? Operation Yew Tree?
All sorts of things.
There's a didgeridoo there. There's a stylophone.
Gentleman behind the bar there who's letting us do it.
I'm not going to let this go. Who's there? Who's behind the bar? Who's behind the bar? Do you know the last bloke who was broadcasting from a pub? I'm not going to say his name because I'm not going to stir up a whole hornet's nest. He's just been sentenced to 5.5 years in jail. 362,000 subscribers he had. Yeah, I know.
Who was that? I don't even know.
We'll say hello to everybody at the Lambe. Now then, what have we got? Leslie Demisa. I was set aside in favor of Haggis. Yeah, baby. Baby, you're yesterday's news. That's how it works. Let's go to northeastern states in the United States. Aidan Brown. Good day. All from somewhere, God knows where. Hello, everybody. Says Sen Monroe.
Sen Monroe. Greetings.
No. There we go. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue. I want to make our guess. Oh, hang on. And from there, we go to Texas. Ding, 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 ding. Morning, chaps, from a slightly chilly Texas. Temperature is dropped. Oh, shut your face, Julie voice. 70 degrees.
70 degrees.
I walked right bloody into that like a dick. Oh, God, Julie voice. You're unbelievable. All right, I want to make our guests feel welcome. You ready?
Ready.
Are you steady?
Guys, Bunny, I'm gonna sing my song. It won't take long.
Right, enough of that. It is, of course, that was the Ventures, but I did the Ventures. And that is the theme tune from
Hawaii 5-0.
Thank you very much. Our next guest, live from Hawaii, I kid you not, CJ Grace.
Da 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 da.
All together now. Everybody.
We're in the groove.
Isn't this live from Hawaii?
Yes, with
Come on. You've got. What did I ask you? What did I ask you to do, CJ?
Degrees.
CJ, you got to do one thing in this interview. One thing you got to say.
Book me, Dano.
Oh, so close.
Oh, sorry. Book him, Dano. Shit, I was
desperately close. Never mind. You don't get the holiday. Oh, CJ, I'm so sorry. You don't get the holiday. You don't get the speed.
Dano.
You're booked by Men's Radio. It's better than being booked by Dano.
Oh, nicely recovered there. You don't get the speedboat, love, but you've still got the fondue set and your enchantment of the dartboard. There we are, CJ Grace, all the way from Hawaii.
Hello, CJ.
Isn't this cool? She won't let it go. I think I've just realized that was David Tennant penalty. Yeah, that's right, baby. You blew me out for my birthday to go and see David Sodding Tennant, your history. Now then, moving on. CJ, tell us all about yourself. First of all, why are you in Hawaii?
Well, I am originally from London, as you can probably tell from my accent.
Excellent. Where in London? We like to narrow it down. Where were you? Cricklewood.
Yes.
Twinned with Hollywood.
Well, almost. There you go. And
well.
I was actually an ex-BBC person. I worked for the opposition when you were with Capital Radio. I was leaving BBC Radio London And
You weren't there. Were you there with Joe Good and everybody?
Well, it was pre-Joe Good. It was
There
back
was
in
never
the Stone
pre-Joe Good.
Age.
Joe Good was
Oh.
with when Marconi did his first broadcast. Joe Good was there going, "How do I look? How do I look? Am I in the right light?"
But anyway, no, it was back in the Stone Age, and I left to go to work for China Radio International in Beijing, and it was an amazing time. It was like I was living a charmed life, and then I had this
random
fairy tale falling in love with an American I met there, and then fast forward to our 25th wedding anniversary, we were living in Hawaii and had a house there, and we were in the land of the gods. And little did I know that just 2 years later, after my fantastic 25th wedding anniversary, both my marriage and my health would be in tatters because my husband was openly carrying on an affair with a woman half his age, whom he refused to give up, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer for the second time.
Oh, Jesus. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I've got
Which
one
is
of
why I
those
wanted you on the show.
nice little BRCA genes that make me more susceptible to getting breast cancer. A nice little gift from my Ashkenazi ancestors. It's that
nice.
BRCA gene.
Yeah. Sure. So, in order of business, you chucked out the former Mr. CJ Grace. Presumably, he got chucked out.
I chucked out. Yes, I chucked out. Well, we were separated for some time, but
is he still with the hula dancer? This is what we need to know.
He left to be with a honey from Europe. So
a honey.
Yes. A honey from Europe, and
so far this is like a Jackie Collins novel, and I'm
it is
loving
indeed.
it. Apart from the cancer bit, which I'm not loving at all.
Yeah,
but
he told me when he wanted a divorce, he said, "Oh, you need to find a rich husband and move somewhere cheaper." And I stayed in Hawaii, and
Neil is available.
Yes. Oh, wonderful! Yes,
Neil is handsome, talented. Look, Neil, I'm doing my best for you. For Christ's sake, play along.
Oh my God!
I don't know if you know New Malden, but it is twinned with Beverly Hills. New Malden.
Don't believe a word of it. If you Google New Malden, it says boring town near Kingston where nothing ever happens. Please don't believe a word of it, CJ.
Is it twinned with Detroit? Maybe.
No, Detroit is paradise compared to New Malden.
No, it's twinned with the little-known town of Crapswell, and you really wouldn't want to go there.
Of Crapswell, yes.
Twinned with Nagasaki. Anyway, so moving on. Right, so you're still in Hawaii. You didn't think, oh, I know, I must go and work for Radio London and tick a few boxes.
No, I was almost going to go back and work for China Radio International because I thought I wanted a real change after my marriage collapse. And boy, am I glad I stayed here.
Yeah, that would have been awkward. That would have been nasty.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in Beijing right now.
No, not Beijing, and definitely not Shanghai. Not pleasant places.
No, you don't want to go to any of those places. So before we get on to the cancer, which is very important, we all have dreams of just buggering. I mean, I'm very, very restless at the moment, and I am kind of looking at the map and thinking, I'm not sure I want to be here anymore. And thinking, I've got to an age, I want to enjoy whatever I got left. Do I want to be here? And I may not. I mean, there's other places that I kind of like to be.
You did write you liked LA, and I thought
I loved LA.
That's not the best place in America.
But the point about it is, CJ, I won't go back to Los Angeles now. I loved it because my two best friends lived there. They're both died in the last 2 years.
Ooh.
Both of them. So my reason for going to Los Angeles to be with the wonderful Shirley Green and my best friend of all time, Francis McGuy, they both died. So my reason isn't there anymore because I really want to. I've got lots of friends out there, but it's not the same. And LA is so bloody left wing now that it would drive me insane. I mean, I'd last 10 hours and then I'd be arrested for something or other. Hate crime, because I said, oh, look, the wind's changed direction. Oh, that's hate crime. That's windist.
Yes, or not being confused by the gender fluid loo signs.
What a load of crap that is. Anyway, moving on. Let's not waste another second of that shit. It's just rubbish. Robert Van Buren, just to help you, because I'm trying to get your romantic life on track here. Robert Van Buren, New Malden is 20.
Oh God! With North Korea, I would
obviously
think, right?
North Korea.
Actually, he's allowed to say that because he lives in New Malden, and we have the highest Korean population in Europe, 11%, and that's absolutely true.
Yeah, there's no dogs in New Malden anymore, but there's. Right, CJ.
I really hope no one's listening.
I don't care. I'm
Yes,
in
well,
that
you
kind
could
of, I'm
have
in that kind of
the
mood. I
crash
don't care.
landing on you situation in New Malden. I don't know if you saw that wonderful series about
What was
Korea. Crash Landing on You, great series.
No.
It's Korean.
Korean. So now, all right, let's deal with the serious
Very
side
obscure.
of it, because one of the reasons that really I wanted to get you on the show, and we've been chit-chatting on emails and all the rest of that for weeks and weeks and weeks, because these people do not turn up magically. It does take some work. You use a lot of humor, which is evident. You've got a fantastic sense of humor. You're putting up with Neil and myself. Clearly, you must have. But you used it in regard to getting through cancer, which you say is now your second run with it, which is not great.
That's right.
But fantastic that you're here. I mean, seriously, because... So how long have you been clear, first of all?
Well, I got the first cancer in 2007 and the second in 2014. Ooh. And since as I said, I have that BRCA gene profile, I have this sword of Damocles hanging over me. So
I'm sorry, what is BRCAG profile? I haven't heard of that.
The BRCA, it's a gene that makes you more susceptible to getting cancer. There's BRCA1 and BRCA2. BRCA1 is the one that Angelina Jolie had. And she made all this deal about, going and getting yourself tested. And she had a prophylactic mastectomy because her mother actually also had breast cancer. But her mother actually died of ovarian cancer and not breast cancer, which is, to my mind, a more serious risk of that gene profile.
And I remember all that with Angelina Jolie, because I remember all these women were having kind of preemptive.
And I disagreed with that. I have I have a biased view on mastectomies, and I do write about it in my book at length. Yes. I just published a book about my breast cancer and infidelity journey. It's a sort of
which is called
My Wild Ride: How to Thrive After Breast Cancer and Infidelity. And it's got cartoons, but it also has a hell of a long bibliography, because I've done a lot of research for that book. I sort of embraced my anal BBC background to put that together.
Yeah, well, BBC and anal go together.
Now, we're very anal. Yes.
BBC and anal definitely do go together.
Yes.
Thank you. I do remember that now you've said that. I do remember all that.
Now, CJ, tell me why have you got why are you down on mastectomy? Why are you down on that?
Well, I was very concerned about the issues with implant illness. Breast implant illness is very real. And one of the poster children for that is actually Crystal Hefner, who was Hugh Hefner's widow. And she had horrible side effects from those. And so once they were removed, all her side effects went away.
Just to dig a little deeper here, because it's important stuff. She was about 12 or something ridiculous. I mean, she was crazy young. And of course, like all the other Playgirl girls, they all had false breasts. And what you're saying, she wasn't ill. She just did it to enhance.
No, implant illness is very real. And there's a Facebook group set up by a lady by the name of Nicole Deruda, Breast Implant Illness and Healing. And it has 170,000 members to date. Wow. It's a support group for people with breast implant illness. It's really a serious problem. And a lot of women are choosing to go flat now after mastectomies in order to not even have to bother with the implant problem.
Here's
the lady who set up that Facebook group, she was bedridden for 6 years, I believe, before she even realized what was going on.
Jesus.
All kinds of systemic problems, mental issues, brain fog and various weird health problems. Ranging from things going wrong with your eyes to anything that you might have that you think
why don't they talk
nothing
about
to
it,
do with it.
CJ? Why don't they talk about it? Why does everybody I know have fake boobs? Why don't they talk about it?
Well, let me give you one example. There was a very biased industry study that just came out, and it was so bad that it was good in a Monty Python kind of way. And this study looked at women who had breast implants for cosmetic reasons, which wasn't the case for a lot of the people on that implant site. Most people are doing it because they have to have mastectomies after cancer. But this study, which was paid for by aesthetic surgeons, was looking at women's personality, and it came up with the conclusion that one of the main factors for women complaining about breast implant illness is that they're neurotic. I mean, it was just terrible study, but it was so bad that it was good. And I ran with it. It was a gift. I did a blog on that.
It's a kind of sweeping state. It's a kind of let's just balance this up a little bit here. Is that not every woman who decides to have breast implants is neurotic? Some have real body issues or whatever, as you're supposed to say. They don't like the way they look, or they want to make themselves, they think, feel more attractive.
Or but also if you have a mastectomy for cancer, I mean, either you go flat and you have to have fake boobs in your bra all the time, or you can choose to have these implants put in, and they're various different kinds, but the most problematic are the ones that are silicone, and then the saline aren't quite as bad, but the casing is also silicone, and you can have major reactions to that. So it's just for the interest of openness, my late wife got breast cancer and had to have a mastectomy and had reconstructive surgery. Okay. It's something that I know far, far, far too much about. I wish I knew nothing about it, but sadly that wasn't the cards that I was dealt with. So it's a subject that was very, very close to my heart. Okay, but she was neither neurotic and didn't have any reaction to it whatsoever. When the cancer came back, it was game over. But there we go. That was it. Now the thing with you,
can I just ask something very quickly? Because it's a really good time to ask it. Do you think CJ, there is sometimes, because we're so kind of looks obsessed in our society, that people rush into having these breast enhancements when it is, in the light of what you're saying, quite a rash decision to do so, and it's something that should really be looked at much more strictly. It's not a decision taken lightly, I think is what I'm saying, and maybe it's been taken absolutely in the past. Yeah.
And what's even more worrying to me is the fact that, I mean, I was reading that girls as young as 13 who have what they call gender dysphoria are being allowed to have mastectomies. I mean, as young as 13.
Yeah, are those people the people are doing that? CJ, can I just post my colours to the mast here? Those people should be imprisoned.
Absolutely.
The people doing this bullshit, should be in jail. It's disgusting.
And I've heard, some doctors say, "Oh, well, if you change your mind, you can just have implants put in."
Yeah,
which is just ridiculous.
Change your mind, cut your knob off, and then
I remember a fascinating book, and this is really relevant, by a guy called Maxwell Maltz, and it was called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it sounds like a really weird title, but it's a really quite a profound book, because he was a surgeon who would do all these surgeries on women who for cosmetic reasons, not for emotional reasons, cosmetic reasons, and emotional, but basically just because they didn't feel good about themselves. Not for medical
reasons, because they've had cancer.
Exactly. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, it was done for exactly that reason. Basically, they didn't feel good about themselves, and what he would find was that for some people, when if it changed their self-image of themselves, then it was good. And some people stayed as unhappy as they were, even though they looked the way they wanted to look. It's that old change begins from the inside out.
Right. You still got the same head.
And so
wherever you go, there you are. What do you do?
You're still the same twat you were before you started. You just look different. That's the deal.
His whole body of work now.
And now even the FDA, which is not the fastest organization to talk about dangerous, to put out warnings about dangerous things, even the FDA now has extensive warnings about breast implants. And when I turned down mastectomies twice, and a lot of my friends thought I was nuts to do that. I have to say, I mean, this is a fairly controversial view, because I actually turned down prophylactic mastectomies before I had my second bout of cancer, but I'm still happy that I didn't do it, because my surgeons never mentioned anything about the problems of implant illness. And, and I feel much happier having real boobs with real sensation and all of that, because
I'll be around in 10 minutes.
Sort of numb load of flesh kind of thing. And
it's not nicely horrible. Put, CJ. Come on, I might want to have some lunch later. Here's the thing, you two. Here's the thing, right? Neil asked a really intelligent question just now, which you answered beautifully, about body image, etc. We're living in a world where idiots in Essex, in South Kensington, in Mayfair, in Manchester, have Botox parties. Are you as stupid as you look? Well, the answer is yes.
Goodness.
Botox parties where they think it's hilarious. You're injecting poison. It's your body. It's none of my business. I don't care. I don't know you. I don't mean you, but I take the view with life. I don't know you. I've never met you. It's not my problem. Get on with it. You want to look like an idiot? Fine. But to have a Botox part, this is just ridiculous. And so Neil's thing about, have they really thought about it? Of course they haven't bloody thought about it. And the other thing
it's all sold as so desirable in this image obsessed society.
You look at something. You look at something like any of those talent shows where they've got the judging panel, and you look at the judges. They can't go near an open fire. I mean, I don't know if there's a beautiful fire where you are, Neil. They wouldn't, because their faces would melt.
Yeah,
right. But they can't really smile. They're too tight to smile.
Yeah, or wink.
No, they can't move. Yeah. They can't move. And how I didn't realize it is so endemic that when you actually see an actress, and the guys have it too before you'll get excited, I know. But when you see an actress who can actually move her face and show some emotion and expression, you think, oh, that's actually what people actually look like. Because most of the time, it's like, they've got to just...
Before anyone has one of these procedures for non-medical reasons, I would make Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz absolutely recommended reading. I really would.
That presupposes they can read, Neil.
Yeah.
You met some of those judges on these talent shows. Moving on. So anyway,
very keen to hear about your books.
Another thing I did though is that because as a cancer preventive, because I want to do whatever I can to avoid getting it a third time.
Damn right.
Yeah,
I threw away my bra because I found out that the link between bras and breast cancer is actually stronger than that between smoking and lung cancer. I'm serious.
Get out of
How
town.
so?
How can that be?
Because there's a very good book called Dress to Kill by Sydney Ross-Singer and Soma Grismeyer, one of the many books I read as part of my research. And they found that in societies where women did not wear bras, the rates of breast cancer between men and women were almost the same.
Do they get black eyes, though?
Oh, men get black eyes from the big boobs wandering around.
I'm sorry.
But no,
I'm in that mood. But are you serious?
Terrible.
Are you serious? This isn't just something you just made up to be controversial, get some sound bites.
No, I'm serious. And I was very convinced by this evidence. And sadly, the mainstream cancer community are not really accepting it. And instead, they point to just one study that was done in 2014. But that study had no control group, and it only looked at post-menopausal women in whom the effects were much less strong.
What I need to do, CJ, what I need to do,
don't wear a bra, you guys, because that'll stop you getting breast cancer.
Thank you. I wasn't
hang on, but I wear pants.
Well, tight pants are, I remember all the issues with people were talking about the potential problems with testicular issues from exceedingly tight pants and tight jeans.
I've got an adoring public. They want tight pants. Obviously.
But we can't see your lower section anyway.
David Lee Roth.
This is the beauty of doing shows like this, trust me.
That's it. You don't even know if I'm wearing trousers. Now, CJ, what I've got to do is I've got to get you back.
Wearing any trousers.
Yeah, obviously, I'm wearing trousers because I just mentally I have to be properly dressed to do a show. Now, here's the thing. First of two today. Is it 2 or 3 I'm doing? Anyway, here's the thing. CJ, I want to get you back, and I'm going to get you on with my chum, Eliza Rager, Janet Rager's daughter. Janet Rager as in Queen of Underwear. I might get you on at the same time as Jill Kenton, whose family was Rigby and Pella. Boy, that would be a right knock 'em down show.
Oh, what about bras?
All about bras. Yeah. Easy. We're not a porn channel. It's not Pornhub.
Well, I don't know,
Well, you're right. We could end up there. Who the hell knows?
Well, could end up.
I got to say, Neil, by the way, I know you're in Hawaii, but Neil, that is the most fabulous backdrop you've ever had. It looks fantastic. Everything about
Shout out to the Yew Tree Pub, Hailing Island.
You're right. You're going to have to take. I'm going to have to come down, aren't I? And disappear there for a week or two.
There's one question I'm going to ask before the end of this, CJ, and I've got to ask this question.
CJ going
what do
anywhere.
the mainstream cancer community, or I'll ask it now if you like, what do the mainstream cancer community not acknowledge that in the light of your research you would like them to pay a lot more attention to? Bra's been the first one.
I'd love to see more integration between alternative therapies and conventional therapies.
Yeah,
like for example, in China, for instance, where I lived for 2 years, they have no problem integrating traditional Chinese medicine with modern conventional medicine.
And don't forget, of course, if you argue about it, they take you outside and shoot you. So probably a reason.
Yeah, it's a little bit different in terms of democratic freedoms to us.
You think?
just a
really?
Just a wee bit, you know.
Really?
Maybe, but taking politics out of it, I don't see why all methods shouldn't be used. I mean, if they work, I mean, there's clearly something in traditional Chinese medicine. The whole field of, the tapping EFT is based on that, and that has fantastic results.
I think the problem, Neil, is that cancer is big business, and we cancer patients are cash cows, and and if there is a non-patentable cure for cancer, you will often get shut down faster than if you had a meth lab in your basement.
I might believe in God, but I don't. Right. Let me. Now this is. I got to tell you, CJ. I think you're terrific, by the way. And I absolutely want you back if you can bear getting up at, oh my God, o'clock in Hawaii. But because I want you on with some other ladies, because it's going to be a ding-dong fight. Neil, I swear to God, we'll duck out. We'll go out and have lunch, and they can just yell at each other. After this one, you'll be doing something to each other, I'll tell you that. This is from Leslie DeMesa, who is an educationalist and one of my best mates, but she's also a brain box. And read this out, because we're also going out on Deluxe Radio, over 70,000 people listening right now, but they don't see us, they just hear us. So hi, everybody. Hi to David Wimbledon. Hi to all the gang on Deluxe Radio. Hope you're enjoying the show. And Leslie says this: not wearing a bra for support if one has large breasts can be very uncomfortable, especially when running. I feel that some of CJ's research is biased. Ooh. I gotta say,
yeah, CJ. I'm biased because I got smaller boobs, so I don't have that problem. But seriously, she's right. In the sense that it's very uncomfortable. I remember playing tennis when I was in high school with a girl who had big boobs, and actually she moved more than the ball did. But the fact is that, because she didn't wear a bra. But the fact is we got
the point.
It's to do with how long you wear the bra, how tight the bra is. So
I've never heard it. Why have I never? I'm in all seriousness. Let's put all our silly gags to one side. I'm with Leslie DeMesa on this. Why have we never heard this before? Why is this? I've never read this. I've never seen this anywhere. Why is this never?
Which is why I asked the question. What other?
Because I think there's a lot of bias in what you can search and find for cancer treatment. And I'll give you an example. Wow. There were certain alternative therapies that I found far more easily on Google when I was having cancer in 2007 than I can now find in 2014. There's a very strong bias in favor of conventional medicine versus alternative medicine. And a lot of these, whenever you look up the bra and breast cancer link on Google, all you get is that 2014 study, which, as I said, had no control group and only looked at postmenopausal women. But there are plenty of studies out there that are detailed in the Singer's book that give you a lot of data about the problems of wearing a bra. And sure, if you have very large breasts and you're doing sport, maybe you do need some kind of support there. Leslie, I believe the lady who was
Leslie DeMesa.
Yeah, she's absolutely right on that. But the problem is this: you have toxins collecting in fat tissue, toxins and waste products. Where do we women have fat tissue? In our breasts. And normally the lymphatic system will flush the stuff out of the system. It'll flush it away. But if you constrict that area, you can prevent the lymph flow. At least that is the hypothesis that the Singers posit in their book Dressed to Kill. And as I said, I found it very convincing.
I agree. I'll tell you why I agree.
Go on, Neil.
Sorry.
I've got a few things that I wanted to say. and then Neil, please hold on to that thought. Number one, and I'm sorry, but this is personal experience. When my wife, who was young, was going through breast cancer, every crank in the world came out of the woodwork with some bullshit money-making scheme.
Absolutely.
So I just want to speak up for the pharmaceutical companies all over the world, because I cannot listen to the nonsense about there is a cure, but they don't want it because it makes money. Do you actually think that the CEOs of these pharmaceutical companies would let their families suffer if they knew there was a cure for cancer? Because the answer is no. Let's be clear about that. It's nonsense. It's tin foil hat wearing bullshit. It's not true.
But let me make one point.
CJ, please hang on just a second. And Opaque will be with you in a bit. That's our next guest. So, and you're welcome to stick around, by the way, if you want to. I mean, you're up, for Christ's sake. It's early in the morning. You might as well stick around, have a coffee, and join the show. It's the alternative medicine side of it. Now, we do a show called the ABC of Cbd, hugely successful, coming up to 100 edition. It's turned me on to CBD and a lot of stuff, and it helps a lot, right? But the cranks from all over the world who were driving me mad at a time when you're at your most desperate, you're most vulnerable, you're most worried. It was disgusting. If I could find them, I'd baseball.
I think it's a great thing that you brought that up, because one of the other things that I mention in my book is that I've got this fabulous cartoon in the introduction called Friendly Advice. And it's about all the, I can show it to you. I don't know if you can see it.
No, hold it up a bit.
I was besieged. I was besieged. No, well, the thing is that I was besieged with unsolicited cancer advice, as everybody who goes through it is. And you know, the hippy dippy people would tell me that chemo and radiation is toxic and doesn't work. And then, you know, the straight-laced friends of mine would say, oh, alternative medicine is pure quackery. And then I'd have somebody else telling me, shouting, oh, you got cancer because you're too tense. You need to relax. And they'd shout at me
they took out their ass. This is the point about it. They talk crap.
And then somebody else was saying, oh, if you don't give up dairy, your cancer will come back. So you get besieged, and you just have to ignore it.
People up the QE2 bridge, and they're morons.
It's like fire and brimstone preaching.
I know.
You know, you're going to go to hell if you don't listen to me.
This isn't the BBC, so what we can just say is, they're all nuts.
Yes.
And it's
taking the bullshit out of it.
Garbage. And John Yates is saying
recommend.
That is right. You have to do your research, and if it is alternative, you need to know people in whom that particular treatment has worked. You don't just go for something with no background, with no research whatsoever. Because as I said earlier, you know, you are seen as a cash cow by both conventional and alternative medicine people if you don't watch out.
Right.
Right now, would you like to stay, or do you want to go?
I can stay. I mean, no problem. Yes.
Well, before you go, tell us about your book quickly.
We're not going through the greatest hits of the Clash here, but you're very welcome to stay. Should I stay?
Plug your books before we bring on the next guest.
Yes, My Wild Ride: How to Thrive After Breast Cancer and Infidelity is my second book. It's just out. It's a comedy self-help book with a lot of cartoons, a lot of humor, but also a lot of very useful information in it. And my first book,
the bad news for you,
is this one,
madam.
Adulterous Wife: How to Thrive Whether You Stay or Not. That one isn't about cancer.
But the good thing is you're not bitter about your divorce, and that's the main thing. That's the main thing.
The mantra of my first book was that the best revenge is to get past the need for it. That's it.
The best revenge
is to get past
Best revenge is to go out with Brad Pitt. Right, here we go.
I don't know about that. He's a bit nuts too, you know, isn't he? They're all nuts.
CJ, it's been lovely. All the very best.
CJ's staying
Thank you.
CJ is staying here. But CJ, you are coming back. I'm going to get you on a show. It won't be for some weeks because we are booked solid now, which is lovely. It's all Neil's fault. I blame him. We're booked solid with guests that I've organised, and Neil's got some as well. But I'm going to get you on with Jill Kenton, who is the daughter of Rigby and Pella. I'm going to get you on with Elisa Rager, daughter of the great Janet Rager. And I'm going to bring on Leslie Demeter as well, and we're going to slog it out. Right. Now then, let's go arty, shall we, gang? Okay.
How's it going?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm not too bad. Busy.
You're okay. You're busy?
Busy. Yeah.
Well, thank you for fitting us in.
Yeah. Oh, my pleasure. I'm happy to be here. If I turn this, there
I
we
was
go.
looking at, now tell us about yourself. You'll see it says Opaque, which is a fabulous name. That is your art name, I'm going to call it, your artiste name.
Yeah.
Like Neil Long isn't his real name. His real name is Danny Diamond. But Neil Long just uses it because he thought Danny Diamond wasn't showing it. I'm just kidding. Tell us all about yourself.
So I'm an artist, I do pop art, but it's kind of pop art with a twist. It's pretty chaotic. It's
huge, your art, though, isn't it? It's not like a little canvas. It's like massive.
No, they're pretty big. Yeah. But that all comes from writing graffiti from a young age. So that kind of size, used to working at size and working quickly. That all comes from years and years of being a graffiti artist. So, and we've got this exhibition coming up, which opens tomorrow in central London. So I'm at the gallery now in their
which gallery is it? Because
it's the Qantas Gallery.
Which one? Qantas.
Qantas, Qantas Gallery on Fashion Street.
Where's that?
Just where Commercial Road is, right by Spitalfields Market.
Oh, around the corner to me. That's all right.
You should be there then. Make sure you're there.
Well, I would be if a certain PR woman had invited me. Yeah, not like she's one of my oldest friends, but anyway. So you've got a very interesting background because, like CJ came through the horrors of, I'm going to say the horrors of cancer. It's bloody awful. There's no upside to it. Let's be honest. It's ghastly. You were an addict, and you turned your addiction into, I'm going to say, the positive form of art. I love art, even if I don't understand it. At least it's art. It's a force of good, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't. I mean, just what's the kind of downside of creating?
Nothing. There's none.
Yeah, you're just trying to offer something up. I think anybody that does any sort of creative endeavor in any form, you're just trying to give something, which I think is amazing. But
the reason why I was keen to get you on the show is not just about the addiction and your I'm not going to say journey. It sounds like Simon Bloody Cowell, some idiot singer, but you know what I mean. Your transition from addict to we're all vaping here. This is good. Is that during lockdown and during the pandemic, I was livid, as were my chums, and Neil felt the same. I'm sure CJ over in Hawaii felt the same. When these twitty politicians said, "Well, you better retrain," and you go, "Well, yeah, but I'm a dancer, or I'm a painter, or I'm an actor. Yeah. What are you going to retrain? What are you going to retrain as a miner, as a welder? You can't do it. It's what you are."
That would virtually destroy a creative person. That was the worst bit of governmental advice I'd ever heard.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Eminently practical.
It was so effing insulting as well.
Yeah.
I can't paint for toffee. I can't sing. I could do some, but I admire art. And art. At that point, we realized what a wonderful positivity that art, even if you stand and go, well, I don't understand it, that's okay. You can say that.
Totally. I mean, if you look at Tracy Emin's Unmade Bed, right, what does I mean? Yeah, but it's
I agree. I don't understand a lot of art, which is why it's good to talk to folks like you. However, I can appreciate the creativity. I'm also really interested in the creative process, the muse, if you like, and where that comes from, because it's the muse does exist, and she's a little bit mysterious, and she comes and goes sometimes, but we all have access to creativity in some way, I believe. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. 100%. People say things like, "Oh, wow, you're really talented," and I don't really see it like that. I see it as muscle memory. I approach it the same way I approached the way that I used drugs. It was just pure obsession. And like you said, I transferred that to being to a creative endeavor, which is painting every day, but with the same kind of ferocity as how I used to drink and how I used to take drugs. And I transferred that addiction. So it's not so much as just you're born gifted. No, it's practice. Like everything is practice. So anybody can do something creative. You just have to set your mind to it.
You see, I've had this. I used to be in advertising for many, many, many years, and I was always teamed up with art directors because I can't draw, but I could write. And I would say to these art directors, all of whom I was in awe of their skill. I said, I wish I could do that. And they'd say to me, especially a wonderful guy called Joe McGillicuddy, who is fighting cancer at the moment, and who changed my life. And Joe said to me, well, you could draw. I said, no, Joe, I can't. I've got no skill. He said, I could teach you to draw. And I said, well, even if you could teach me to draw, I wouldn't be able. And CJ's the same. CJ writes obviously very well. I wouldn't be able to draw like you. You could teach me the mechanics, but it wouldn't have that inspiration. I've seen your work. I look at that. You could give me paint sprays and everything. It would look terrible. It would just look awful, you know.
I beg to differ.
It would look like
but you can write. So again, you know,
it's all a form of creativity, though. It manifests through us in different ways, but it all counts as when I'm in flow. I've talked about flow states quite a lot on this, and it's an ecstatic state to be in, and art of any kind is very conducive to it. And when you're in flow, this amazing stuff comes out of you, and you don't know quite how. Have you experienced that? It's like, oh my god, where did that come from? That's brilliant. That kind of thing.
Yeah. But I mean, the whole process of how I work and how I create, how an idea will then turn into a collection, which will then turn into a running collection and theme, which I work on. That whole process for me has been really organic from the start. It's just an evolution. And I think the most important part of it is not having a fear of failure or seeing anything.
Oh, that's so well said, Opaque. Thank you.
I missed that.
You don't.
The most important
have a fear. This is so important. Don't have a fear of failure.
Yeah.
No.
Because none of it's a failure.
My dad used to say to me, if I was really, he was a man of few words, most of them not very good. Most of them included Kempton Park or Ascot. But he would say, I'd say, da-da-da-da-da. And he went, really? What's the worst that's going to happen to you, boy? He said, are they going to take you out in the street and shoot you? And I went, of course not, Pop. He says, well, then shut up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's my view of life. That's my view of life. Like, what's the worst? They're not going to shoot you.
Exactly.
Unless you're in China, CJ.
That's right.
You can jump in anytime. Now, Opaque, could you, if you don't, and we're not the BBC, so if you don't want to go there, don't. But you were an addict. You were a serious addict. And the one thing I saw, and I was reading up about you, and Lou sent me all your stuff, was this. Excuse me. You said addiction is not a. Oh, what did you?
It's not a negative.
That
addiction's a gift. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of thought I couldn't agree with that. But
in why? Why not?
Talk us through it. Addiction is a gift.
Okay, so addiction is a label of something, is of how to me how my brain works, and I'm labeled, like in so many ways, an addict. And that word has a negative connotation to it, which means if you're an addict, you're an alcoholic, or you're a drug addict, and the escapism and substance abuse or alcoholism is the kind of where, because it feels good, and the way my brain works is in this kind of obsessive compulsive way, that I'm super drawn to that very, very, very quickly. But then when I started to get better, and it was bad, it totally took over my life. But it's kind of been like that since I was a child with everything that I do. If I put my mind to it, I obsess over it and can't think about anything else. But so when I started to get better and I met my therapist, and again, it was, therapy to me was a crazy thing, because at first I just thought, like, how can just talking about things sort this out? But it did. My relationship with him is like my guru or one of my best friends. But anyway, I started to kind of, drug addiction especially, or alcoholism, is a very purpose-driven lifestyle, right? You have a task which you complete regardless of what's in your way. That drive is there, and every day I broke on the street, living at home. I was isolated, but I managed to get what I needed to get, and that was just purely down to how my brain functions at that moment. This is the most important thing. So I started to get better, and I didn't have a purpose anymore. I'd drawn since I was a child, but I kind of lost that through the chaos that I was in due to my mental health. And then, so I realized that my purpose was now going to be being creative. But it started with what I did was I mimicked the journey I used to do from my front door to the local shop to where I used to go and pick up drugs. And then I mimicked that same journey in my new house from the front door to the local shop, and I'd buy liters of sparkling water. And so I kind of tricked my brain to believe through days and days and months and months and months of doing exactly the same thing over and over again and forming a habit around it, that was my fix. And so that
sorry
then
to jump
became...
in, just to see that I'm understanding. So you tricked your brain into, as you said, sanity through repetition by buying the sparkling water that equated to getting your drug stash. Have I understood correctly? Okay.
Yeah, and obviously at first it was like, this is water, but then it became like a treat and it became a habit. Don't get me wrong, it's still, I take it to the absolute extreme and will drink 8 liters of water a day. But at the same time, it's water, it's not cocaine, or it's not a liter of vodka. But so, and then I started to kind of try and apply that kind of thought process to painting. So I feverishly work, and I'm kind of disciplined with it. So I wake up.
I think that's great what you're saying. You're essentially you're not fighting against your nature, your programming. Yeah. You're utilizing it. I have a very dear friend that recovered from alcohol addiction, and his thing is Diet Coke, and he just drinks probably way too much of it, but it's better than drinking alcohol because that would have killed him.
Neil, have you ever heard that? I love this.
But no, what I was going on to say is I haven't heard it taken to the next stage, which you have, Opaque, by saying I'm now going to apply that same programming, that same wiring to a creative purpose and channeling it in that way. I've never heard it put that way before. I know it's common to go from one addiction to another, a lesser, better one, but still an addiction. But to take addiction and turn it around and call it a gift in that way, I see what you mean. If you're turning it around, and channeling it.
I mean,
it's a bit like the street fighting kid that becomes a boxer, for example.
Yeah. I'm just channeling.
Good example.
I feel like I've been this way. My brain's wired this way. Yeah, it just is. And I don't want to. Why try and cure that or fight that? Just use it very differently. But yeah, dependency and addiction. Drug dependency, I guess, is a different way. That works better, in my opinion, that I was dependent on substances, but there's still an obsessive compulsive nature to the way that I am, and that can be channeled into very specific things.
Now, you and CJ, you're very different people, but you're both, I'm going to use the word artists, you're both clearly creative, obviously. CJ, and this is a question because I can answer it from me, but I'd love to hear it from you guys. And so CJ first, out in Hawaii. It's exciting, Hawaii. If you don't write it, do you have to write every day, or you feel like your day isn't fulfilled, or you kind of feel...
Good question.
You feel... It's an ugly phrase. It's one I thought. You feel mentally constipated. Forgive me if it's a bit vulgar, but do you feel you have to write like anything? It doesn't matter what it is.
No, it's more that I feel like I have to write particular things. Often I don't choose what I write. It writes itself. I come up with some ideas and I just have to write them. I just have to put it all down. And it's got to be there. And it's going around in my head until I write it down. I've got to put it down. And I can't, in some ways, I can't really choose what I write about. If people say, oh, you should write about this, you should write about that. No, my mind tells me I've got to write about something else. And that's what I write about.
Yeah, interesting.
And that it is, I can see the OCD side to that, because you've got to get it down. You've got to get it down. It's in there and you've got to get it out. You've got to get it down.
I'll come to Opaque in a sec. If I see something on Facebook or Twitter or something, or I'm walking around and I see a gag or something that I think is entertaining, I have to put it out there, and it's nothing to do with ego, and it's nothing to do with, hey, look at me, I'm really funny, because I'm not interested in that. But I feel if I don't do that, I've somehow not fulfilled whatever it was I had to do It sounds ridiculous. If I'm walking along and see a silly sign. And
Yeah, I
think
mean,
of a
I do the
gag
same
about
thing.
it, I
You've got to,
have to
I've got
get
to
it
take
out
a
there.
photo,
Yes,
and
I have
because,
to
for
do it.
example, one of the things I do is I have 12 Christmas gifts for your cheating ex every year. I do sort of
You're
spoofy type
obsessed with
Christmas,
this.
and so and that's going to be my third book. It's going to be 100 gifts for your cheating ex, and
Yeah.
I go to a lot of yard sales. I used to go to Vide-Grenier in France, and I find these bizarre objects, and I have to take a photo, or if it's not super expensive, I'll actually buy it. And I've done 5 years worth of these weird things, and I've got to have my camera because I've got to take a
like
photo.
the Del Boy Trotter of Hawaii.
I understand exactly what you're saying. You see something, you absolutely have to take it and use it. Yeah,
I have to.
It's also turning a very bad situation into good. It's like a pile of shit, but there must be a pony in there.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, it's all about humor. It's not about sending your ex a dead fish or something like that. I'm not so.
No, not at all.
So she's obviously everybody. She's thought this through very carefully. Shall I send my ex a dead fish?
Peg, I've been doing a little bit of Googling, if you saw me doing that, and I Googled you, sanity through repetition. I see there's an exhibition coming up.
Fabulous phrase.
Registered
it is a
interest
great
in.
title.
I want to hear about your art. What kind of thing do you do? I mean, I know it's probably hard to put in words given everything we just said, but
so as I said, it's kind of pop art based, and it's all. I'm coming from like a graffiti background with lettering, was obsessed with typography, and then I'm also, as a child, was obsessed with cartoon characters. But so with my artwork, I work feverishly, but the reason being for that is because the process for me is as important as the outcome. Because the process, if you think of a 12-step program, meditation is a massive part of recovery. So when you draw, or when I draw, or when I paint, there is no room for my mind to have any other thought apart from being hyper focused on what I'm doing. So that basically allows me to live in the moment.
In today's distracted world, that is an absolute. I mean, the focus. I think your superpower is focus. I know another. I actually think he's listening now. There's a guy. I won't name him out of polite, but he's got this absolutely obsessive focus on things. But it's a gift. It's a superpower. It really is, because so people are so all over the place. Ding, distraction. But to be able to have that laser-like focus on something, my God, if we could get that in our classrooms. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hyper focus on every line that's drawn, every line that's painted. There is no room for anything else. So I'll work. So it's 7 days a week. I do this 7 days a week. But as I said, it allows me to live in the now instead of in the future. And when I have time to think, then I have problems. The drugs and alcohol wasn't the problem. It was the solution. The problem's my head. So it's finding ways to occupy that.
If I were to describe this, I would call it mindfulness on steroids. Is that fair?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. So my work is, this exhibition, Sanity Through Repetition, is all about, I started with taking cartoon characters and then tattooing them. A real love for the tattoo culture, traditional tattoo culture. But then as I've expanded it and started to and got better, I think that's in like with regards to my mental health. I started to really think about the concept of taking a character like Mickey Mouse as an example, taking one image of Mickey Mouse and then multiplying it and repeating it onto the canvas to create something that is really abstract. And the reason for that is because insanity, which is how I lived with psychosis for so many years, is repeating the same action over and over again, but expecting a different outcome.
So said Einstein, yeah.
So I repeat the same image over and over again, or the same action, but create a different outcome, which therefore breaks that insanity cycle and totally goes against what that saying is.
That's very clever. By using an obsessive pattern against itself in a creative way. That's absolute genius.
Do you know what?
It is.
There's two things.
Thank you.
There's some deep psychology
you're
talking about
here.
Stuff
that you're doing. Opaque, there's stuff that you're doing here, which to me, I'm not a medical expert at all. right? But it seems to be pretty groundbreaking to me. Your thing with the sparkling water is utterly genius. And we've had over the when did we start this? 2019, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of guests, and some of them have been addicts, etc., etc. And no one's ever said that. It's really extraordinary turning that thing into, I hate to say it, but Neil will know what I mean, turning it into a positive. It's really amazing.
It's also
same with
so
CJ turning her horrible situation,
and it's also
into
delightfully paradoxical because you've got two seeming opposites in there doing the same thing over and over again, but in a creative way. It shouldn't work, but it does. How?
Yeah,
and that I find that quite exciting.
Yeah.
Are you? Can I use a ghastly term, Opaque? Are you? I'm going to say, are you clean now? Are you sober now?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
Did you? Was it one of the 12 steps that you did, by the way?
I have this horrendous thing, but apart from that, yeah.
Me too. Yeah. Was it the 12 steps that got you clean?
That was my starting point. Yeah. That was a friend. I mean, I was a mess. And I think the whole kind of war story side of it, and it was just mental health was in tatters. I'd lost my dignity. I'd lost everything. It stripped away all of that, all of my values, everything, my moral judgment, everything had gone. And a friend of mine, I saw him at a party in London, and then he said to me, he'd just come out of rehab, and he said, you need to get into the rooms of NA. And so I joined the fellowship, which is, don't get me wrong, that what those fellowships are doing for people is mind blowing. What the power within those rooms is mind blowing, and they are helping so many people, and it helped me for a long time. But then I kind of went past it. That was due to myself not looking at the wrong reasons. You know, they say look for the similarities, not the differences, and I found that very, very hard. That was just me. But the big part of it for me was meeting my therapist, Rob Acott. I hope he doesn't mind me saying his name. I'm sure he won't. And I think with addiction as well, it's about isolation, and there's no human contact.
Do you agree with the idea that the opposite of addiction is connection? I think Russell Brand put that one forward.
Totally, yeah.
Camaraderie, connection.
The last time he said something sensible.
I've met Russell Brand, and he is a wonderful person. He's a wonderful.
I think a lot of problem people have with AA is that you have to. The first step is acknowledging a belief in a higher power. But I've also seen fellowships that have still of the fellowship, and I think I saw a book, the 12 Steps for Atheists, because it's practicing the steps that's important.
Yeah.
And getting the effect from them, not necessarily having a particular belief. You can do it.
A 12-step program,
manner, as well as a religious one or a spiritual one.
To live by the principles of a 12-step program, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's a very good way to live. It's a lot of gratitude. And,
undoubtedly.
100%. It's a very good way to live.
Although we're not a commercial radio station whatsoever, we're CIC companies. Where is the gallery? And tell everybody where they can come and see your work, because it is extraordinary. I'm not clever enough.
You can register interest online. You can sign up on an email form. I've just done that.
It's is the Qantas Gallery, which is on Fashion Street in London, right near Spitalfields Market, just off of Commercial Road. It's an amazing space. I'm here right now. This is their kind of media room. And the exhibition is opening tomorrow. From the 20th, it's the opening night tomorrow, 6 till 8 o'clock in the evening, and then it will run until the 5th of November. The work will be up there. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And as Azadon Brown from the US is saying now, Opaque, thank you for sharing your story. I could not echo that.
I think a testament to what's possible and the way you
with
have
both of our fantastic guests.
Both of you, of course, absolutely.
Terrific.
Absolutely, 100%. And what I particularly loved about yours is you've blended this kind of the insanity of doing the same thing over and over again, but turned it on itself. It's the paradox of it, and it's brilliant. And I'm going to be reading your books as well. I know another podcast actually, which I'd like to get you both on. One of my podcast clients, I think, might be very interesting.
Unbelievable, bloody poaching all my work.
Not poaching.
It's unbelievable, you backstabbing bastard. You backstabber. Opaque, all the very best.
What are you going to do about it?
I hope it all goes fabulously well. CJ from Ding, 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 ding. All I can think of is Elvis and Bookham Dano from Hawaii. You've both been fantastic. Thank you so much, Neil.
Thank you so much.
On his holiday there, the
Thank
fabulous
you.
pub. It's all
Shout
going
out to everyone at the Yew Tree Pub. Thanks for letting us broadcast
Operation
from the Yew Tree Pub,
Pub.
Hailing Island.
Bye, everybody. I'll be
Cheers, guys.
back on Friday. Until then, try and stay out of trouble. Bye, gang.